guys, my name is Cailee, and I'm here with Rob with Front Row Live.
We had a show last night at the Peppermint.
Yeah, it was a great show. The audience was super great. Shows are just the best. You just get like the best adrenaline rush.
Right.
But that's why I love performing. You just feel great before and after.
And you know, you were saying you were a little nervous getting on stage for this show yesterday. How do you calm your nerves once you hit the stage?
You know,
or before you hit the stage?
I don't. Like, normally my band's like, you're fine. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Like, it's so funny because it's this huge dramatic thing, and then I go on stage and it's like a light switch. Like, I'm literally just like, I'm ready. I'm here. But it's pretty funny.
So yesterday you got to test a lot of new music.
Yes.
One of them being "It's on You," which is your latest single, which I really, really enjoy. Talk to me about this single, and you know, what's the creative process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's always different each song, but something that's definitely important for me, at least writing-wise, is having just a good space to write in. And I really didn't know what I wanted to write when I was going into that session. And I wrote with this really awesome writer, Chris Lee. He's a great artist. And we sat down and just talked for a really long time and just started to write. And then this really beautiful song turned out, and it's definitely my favorite song I've ever written. It's super vulnerable, and it's really about overcoming things and realizing you have the power to do so,
Right.
which is just a really powerful message.
More of a reality check for yourself, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And even the video, it was super fun to really create that visual.
Now, as a somewhat of a new artist, like, what's it like for you to actually get vulnerable on a track? Like, going into the studio, working with someone you've never worked with before, let alone letting your audience hear this side of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool too because I feel like people don't know much about you, especially when you're a newer artist. So it is cool because you get to open those doors and really introduce people to you the closest way possible. And I think that's really cool to do because sometimes people wait to really be that vulnerable until later on. But for me, I just want to be kind of upfront and honest from the beginning. And I think that's really cool that I get to have the opportunity to do so.
Now, your fans kind of know you from the Vine scene, which, you know, is those first like 15-second videos, right? Yeah. And then now you get to expose yourself for so much longer. So going from that transition from 15 seconds to like a whole music video or a whole song, like how nerve-wracking was that in the beginning?
Oh my gosh. I will tell you, like when you're filming a music video and you have to do the song over and over and over, like, you don't understand how much, I mean, it's funner, but like, it's hilarious because when I did Vine, it's like you did different takes, but it was like 15 seconds. Right. So like the transition's definitely different, but I definitely prefer it because it's like you get to really show a story. And I feel like with a Vine, it's like you can make something cool and different, which was really fun because you got to be super creative. But now it's like you get to really tell a story and like really explain yourself and really sing a song super passionately or sad. And like, I love that you get the time to do that.
Do you find it easier now because you have so much more time to show to the audience?
Yes, because I will tell you, I'm the most indecisive person ever. So even picking a song for me to do on Vine and like figure out what I wanted to, just took so much time, and people don't realize because it's literally 15 seconds. Right. But now it's just cool because you get to actually curate almost like a project. And I just love being creative and being behind all the little bits and pieces and really make it come together.
Now, what was that transition like from, you know, covering other artists' music to making your own music? Like, how difficult was that for you?
Oh my gosh. It was definitely difficult. Part of It's on You, like writing that and stuff, was definitely part of that story because, you know, you really have to find your own voice. And I think that's something that took me a really long time to do, especially I'm only 18. So you're growing up amongst that and you're, you know, trying to figure out who you are as a person. So figuring out who you are as an artist is definitely even challenging. Yeah. So it's crazy, but I think the coolest part about that is that you can really see my growth in my songs. And I might not know what kind of artist I'll be in 5 years, but the fact that I get to live in this space and explain myself as an artist now, I just think is really cool. And It's on You is exactly who I am and what I feel and what I've overcome right now. Right. And, you know, in 5 years, if I look back and that's different, that's fine. But it's kind of cool because it's like a time capsule almost.
And as far as like the evolution of your sound, your music, your writing, like, how do you feel that has looked like since Overthinking in 2016?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like something that's always been definitely number one for me is I love pop music. I've always loved pop music. As a kid, I loved pop music, and I think that's something I always stay true of in some way or another. Right. Pop is just my home. I love it. But it's definitely grown in a mature way. You know, it's definitely grown from a standpoint of views and what I've gone through, obviously, because I went from 16 to 18. So you kind of go through different experiences. And a lot of like just self-love has changed, I feel like. And you can really hear that in my music. But the message is just always important to me, and that's always stayed in the music.
Right. And one thing I liked about you is that you have a song like your new song, It's On You, and then you have a song like Started, which is such a simple song, but yet it's such a loud song at the same time. Like it gets the point across. So what is it like writing such a simple, lyrically driven song like Started, for example?
Well, first of all, I love that you even know that. Like, that just, like, makes me so happy because a lot of people don't know about overthinking. But Started, like I said, it was, like, my introduction to being vulnerable. And I think, like, really...
But you can't tell. I mean, it seemed like you've been doing it for a while.
Thank you. And, like, the thing, too, is, like... I think that's always my advice too for newer artists is like really break down those walls early and be open to songwriting. Songwriting was really scary for me when I first started because I was young. I was going to a room with older men most of the time, which, you know, is different because their standpoints on things are different than mine. And like you have to be able to stand there and voice your ground. And for me, that was really important to do. And with Started, you know, writing that song, I was a little 16-year-old that wanted to write, you know, a song about a specific topic. And I was like, can we write about this? And I really had to, in that session, talk about what I wanted and make sure that came across in the song. And to just break down that wall so early really led me to the artist I am today, even in writing sessions, to be able to start early and start voicing myself and talking about what I really wanted to write about and not care what other people think. Right. You know, you have to be comfortable doing that.
Now, for that song specifically, Started, since it was one of your first songs that you wrote, and it was a meaningful song for you, like, when you perform it today or when you hear it today, does it still have that same kind of meaning or has that meaning kind of disappeared for you?
You know, I think the beautiful thing about music is that you can always be transported back into a place. Yeah. And that's why I love writing music, because I think it can bring people back to memories or make people realize where they are. And, you know, that song, Truck.
It's TMZ, guys.
You know, that song just to me is always going to be meaningful because it takes me back to those moments where I felt like that. And it was actually about my boyfriend that I'm still dating, which is really sweet because, you know, I get to live back to when we first started dating and like had those feelings. That
puppy love scene.
Yeah, and like I just think that's so sweet, you know, and like I said, it's like a time capsule. It just brings me back to when I was younger. Right.
One thing I liked about Overthinking, I'm sorry I keep talking about this EP. You did for your debut EP, you did a really great job. Now, one thing I like about it is that there's piano ballads, there's string ballads, and then there's like soft guitar ballads, and then there's like more pop driven like rock stuff. So, you know, when you go into the studio and write your music, like what do you want your sound to be?
You know, what's funny is something that I always say, especially when I go into sessions, they're like, what do you have, you know, what ideas do you have? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like my biggest thing, because like I said, honesty is my biggest drive. And even if I don't feel anything when I go into a session, even if I don't know what I want to write about, I will write about that because I always want it to be how I feel in that moment. And you know, I could sit here and tell you like excuses like I had this, blah, 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 but it's not. You know, I just go in and I honestly write from a true part of my heart always. I never go in with like a story and it just comes out with how I feel in that moment. And I just feel like that's when you can write from the best place. But even Overthinking, it's funny because all the songs are so different. Yeah. And it's because that's exactly how I felt in that time. I was a kid. I was confused. I felt one way. I felt another. I was experiencing new things. And now you can hear that too in my new music. Like Deeper is about connecting and really getting to know other people. But then It's On You is about connecting to yourself. Right. So there's definitely a common trend in all my music of how I feel in that exact time, which is cool.
Now, where do It's On You and Deeper fall into the category of projects right now, like an EP, an album, singles? Like, what are your plans on that?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think my goal is to do singles. I think right now my goal is really to do singles just because I feel like I want to be able to tell a story. And for me, like, I had to go in the order of Deeper and It's On You just because of my life experiences in that moment. Right. So I definitely want to do some more singles and definitely get that in the works just to like give people what I've grown and show people what I've grown and really show people the new me as an artist.
Now, what are the plans for music? You did your Peppermint show last night. More shows, more tours. I mean, your fans are all over the place.
It's so funny too because I did start kind of on social media, so your fans are just spread out all over the world, which is so cool. But yeah, hopefully some more shows are gonna come up, and for me, I think my goal right now is performing. I love to perform live. That's just one of my favorite things ever. Going on tour with Lindsey Sterling was just one of the funnest things I've ever done. So I really want to go and meet the fans and perform the new songs live and just really get to know the audience. And I think that's really important for me right now.
How did that tour specifically kind of impact you on the way that you think about a performance, or you think about the way you're going to write your music today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you never really connect the dots of singing something in your room or like mastering it in the studio. Singing it live is so different. Like performing it live, you see the reactions in such a real-time kind of moment. So I definitely think it's impacted me because, even as a performer, it's like you want to, even when you're in the studio singing and stuff, I can visualize exactly what that setup would be live. And like it impacts you in a way where you like set up production a certain way. And like, it's just cool because you get to actually set things up so that way they can be performed with like full band. And like, I just love putting all that stuff together. And especially as a performer with Lindsey, like, Lindsey is such a talented performer. She grabs the audience and her crowd, just to be able to go out live and people not know me and have to win them over. That was a great lesson as a performer because, I've been through crowds who don't like me. I've been through crowds who love me. You just really learn how to grab people.
Right. Learn to be okay with it too. Like, I think that's one of the hardest things when it's a new artist. Like, they get so depressed when they're not, getting their attention. But it's like, at the end of the day, the tour is the headliners in a way. Like,
well, and the thing too is for me, I learned, like a big lesson I learned was that if I go in and let's just say 80% of the audience hates me and doesn't really dig my music, even if one person in the audience follows me or follows me on Spotify and listens to my music and downloads it, that makes such a big impact. And I don't think people really realize that either. Even if just one listener in there liked you and wants to follow you as an artist, I just think that is so important and you should take account for that and not just ignore it.
That's true. That's true. Now, for those that haven't heard your music yet, what is your music all about? What is your reason behind creating music?
I think really my music is pop. It's fun. It's sad. You feel a bunch of things when you listen to it. And I think the cool thing about my music, too, is that you can connect to it in all kinds of ways. You can relate to it. You can just sing it and dance to it. You can do whatever you want with it. And
Truck!
How many times are we going to say that?
Hey, that's going to be every time.
Truck! But yeah, my music is really fun. And, the cool thing, too, is you get to grow with me and really see how I turn into as an artist. And I love that.